Go. Hello, welcome back to the Happiness Project, Book Babes. We are so excited you are here with us, and we are really excited to jump into today's chapter. We are on chapter 7. The month is July, and it is Buy Some Happiness. So we're talking all about money. What's funny is right before Hannah and I jumped on here, we said we didn't have much highlighted, but we'll explain why in a minute. First, I want to go through the different things that she breaks down, the categories. They are indulge in a modest splurge, buy needful things, spend out, and give something up. So, all right, Hannah, we have to share what we talked about because I know when I said, okay, chapter 7, money, I have like nothing highlighted. I don't have anything highlighted because what was it, 3 years ago, 2018, I actually, hopefully you can hear me. In 2018, my husband and I actually kicked off Dave Ramsey. We did Financial Peace University, and we like gave it our all. I love to plan. I love to budget. It gives me all the feels. I'm so confident in money. Like we are officially debt free besides our mortgage, and like I feel good about it. And so as I'm reading this, not that what she provides isn't valuable, it just wasn't valuable to me because I have a really good grasp on this. Yes, I have some things highlighted, which I'll touch on. But I said, like, I didn't have a lot highlighted here because I'm super freaking confident in this category. I don't need her to fix my happiness around money because I kind of have already faced that demon and really like uncovered it. And then you said,
I laugh because when you first like, oh, I don't have a whole lot highlighted. And I was like, oh, thank gosh, because me either. But then you explained that it's because you're confident in this money situation. And then I realized, oh, well, then we're different because I skipped over this section to the best of my ability because I am not good with money. And I have never been good with money. And I have never been given a whole lot of good examples until I met my husband about being good with money. And so it's one of those icky topics for me. And I think that that's probably relatable for a lot of people. It's just something that I just think it takes so much intentionality with money. You really have to know what's coming in, what's coming out, and be really responsible and not very impulsive. And I am an impulsive person just in general. And so I am one of those people where if I have the money and I want something, it's really easy for me to go, okay, I want it. And growing up, having not as much, I think sometimes I like spending money for like more so on my inner child. Like my inner Hannah gets really happy when she has money to buy whatever she wants because it's still kind of new. And then it creates problems because I have 4 kids, I have bills, we do have financial goals, and we are currently in the process of trying to save and buy a house because we have been fortunate enough to have a very spacious 3-bedroom apartment that's just always worked out for us. And because of me and my husband's jobs, we have this funny thing where we make enough money that we pay all of our bills, but then there's this side money. And it would be really responsible of us to put all that in savings and be, really diligent about watching where that goes. And I am not diligent about watching where that goes. And in real time, I can see where it kind of backfires because I feel like at this point, we could have easily had a house by now if we would tighten it up and really look at it. But it's one of those icky topics. And I am in real time working on that in my real life. So,
well, and I think it's so beautiful that you shared that because let's be honest, I have been there too. That's why we decided to go through Financial Peace was because my husband and I were kind of on opposite ends. Like I did not have a lot growing up and his family cared for him and he still did not have a lot growing up. We're both really hardworking. And when we had money, we're like, cool, this is money. But it wasn't like the adult idea didn't pop into our head like, oh, we have to be responsible. We have to plan for our future. It was like, well, we just have money. We're fine. And what we found was we were living paycheck to paycheck and talking about it. When we would talk to each other about money, whoa, it was terrible because neither of us knew how to talk about money. And it was so uncomfortable. And like you said, it was very icky. And a lot of people have shame around money. When we bring up, income or what you're spending, you've put on that shame hat and you kind of like, exclude yourself and sit out and pretend like you're not in the room. And it's really hard. It's really uncomfortable. And I think just like you said, being intentional is the game changer when it comes to money. And I think it's beautiful how she did put it in here, because I think, and what you had just said too, is that a lot of times we use buying things as a crutch to fill in our happiness. Like, it's easy to go to Amazon, put something in our cart, click buy, and then we get happy because one, we bought it, and then two, a couple days later it comes in the mail and we open it and maybe we never use it, but we got happiness for like 10 seconds here and then 2 minutes here, so it's good, right? Until we start the shame spiral, until we start worrying about how we're going to pay our bills. Absolutely, 100%.
Yes.
And will you go ahead and share the Christmas decoration story?
So it is in real time January 4th. And so this past week, we took down all of our Christmas decorations. And Christmas is genuinely my favorite holiday. Growing up, I have my favorite memories centered around Christmas. So every Christmas, I feel like my Christmas decor grows and grows because I'm always in Hobby Lobby and getting like the small business deals on all this cute Christmas decor. So this year we're putting it all away, and now my house is bare. There is just bare bones, bare shelves. And I was looking around and it just felt like all my serotonin got packed away with my Christmas stuff. So I had instantly went and I was like, I should just decorate for winter, just generic winter. So I went and filled up my Amazon cart with just some wooden plaques and some like fake little trees and just all this cute winter decor. And then I have a rule with myself that anything that I put in an online shopping cart has to stay in there for 24 hours. I say one sleep because that's just how we talk in our house. Everything is in sleeps. So I have to leave it in there because I know I am an impulsive person and an instant gratification fills my cup out, or so I think. And so I had put all this stuff in there. And then the next day I looked at it and I'm like, this is literally, in transparency, $163 of random stuff that, yes, it'll bring me joy. It'll be fun to unpack it and put it away. But does it really align with the financial goals? As much as I love the home decor, I think right now it would just be nicer to have a house to decorate than have the decorations. And that's just a real talk that I'm having to have with myself a lot. And I'm starting to win that conversation a little bit more. It's not always a win, but the fact that there is still all of that stuff that has now been moved into my save for later, 2.5 years ago, it wouldn't have been. It would have instantly been bought. So as much as, there is room that I know that we need to grow in financial areas, I am proud of how much I've came through.
Absolutely. I think that's the beautiful thing, is that sometimes we think we have to fix it overnight, but it's like, no, if you're just diligent in that one little decision to like, push the button or don't push the button, right? And you're saving and you're reaching for those goals. And I love that you have that rule. And that's really why I wanted you to share that story, because I have a similar rule of, if I see something that I love, whether it's at online or at the store, I don't like to buy things for myself. I'm such a cheap ass, but I'll put it in the cart and I'll walk around the store with it till I get to the checkout and decide, okay, do I really need this? Do I really need that? Or like online, I'll keep it in my cart and I'll just wait. My rule is, if I can't stop thinking about it, when I go back to the store, when I go back to my online cart, then I can get it. If it's not there anymore, then it wasn't meant to be. And if it is, then great. But if I don't want it unless like weeks from now, I can just still think about that one thing that I really, really want. So I think that that's kind of beautiful. You got to find the little tricks that are going to help you really overcome that. So I love seeing how you're sharing. You're already growing in this money topic, even if it's like uncomfy, and even if you don't feel very confident in it, you're still making those strides. So that's really exciting.
And I love that she just kind of talks about like, can money buy happiness? Because I feel like that's just kind of a universal question. And I feel like it goes both sides. I feel like there's people are like, money will buy you the things that will buy you happiness, or you have kind of like, I don't know, the 90s gangster rap of more money, more problems, which is I think a lot of us can relate to. And so she kind of talks about like, yes, it can absolutely be something that brings happiness if used wisely. And she kind of talks about like, first off, it depends on what kind of person you are. She says money has different value to different people. And I think that is so true. I think that there's people that can, just see money and just easily in their head rationalize like, okay, this is for my bills. This is for, saving. This is what I'm allowed to spend. And I think maybe sometimes it comes with, maybe you had growing up, you had those really structured examples from parents. But I think at the same time, it really comes down to, you incorporating what works for you. And so I love that she touched that it's different. And then she says, it depends on how you spend your money, which is so true. I feel like there's people that can easily like want to spend it on like shopping or like clothes and little things. And there's people that want to do like the big purchases, like maybe like house renovations or like traveling or, those kind of big projects. And I think that I love that she touched about, you might want to splurge on a large, a TV or a new bike or stuff like that. Or I just love that. So
I love that you bring that up because that's definitely me and my husband. We are complete opposite. Like we are both the big spenders. We don't really buy a lot of little stuff. If it's little stuff, it's normally food, just because if I could have a chef, I would pay arm and a leg. Somebody come cook all my food for me, please. So we do spend a lot of money like eating out. But when we're buying, we're not going and buying little things. It's normally like bigger things that we've been saving up for. And not last year, 2020, because we didn't go anywhere, but the year before that, we were finally at a place financially where we could like do more things that we wanted. And I personally was determined to spend it on travel because for me, I'm a quality time person. I love going and making those memories and going places, exploring new places. And so that was really a priority for me. And I knew whatever money I was spending, that's where I wanted it to go. And after we broke down how much money was being spent for each trip or each vacation, my husband about shit his pants. Like he was like, what in the world? Because travel is just not a priority to him. And it took a lot of hard sit down conversations where I just, had him understand like this matters to me. And, if you're spending here, that matters to you. But it's all about happiness. I don't go out shopping. I don't go out doing all this stuff. I save money like crazy. And so it's really being willing to have those conversations and knowing what's important to you. So I love that you shared that. Like shopping will fill some people's cup, and for me, that is not it.
And then the last one that she says is, it depends on how much money you have relative to the people around you or relative to your own experience. And that, oh my gosh, is just
interesting.
So true for me. So a group of managers that I used to work with would regularly go out to a restaurant downtown. And it's definitely a more spendy restaurant. And I had always kind of in the back of my head been like, they never invite me. And I never had questioned it. I'm really more of the introvert. Like I don't hang out in big social settings a whole lot. I'm more of a one-on-one kind of setting. And one time, one of the managers mentioned that the reason that they don't invite me is because they know that I financially don't have as much money and they don't want to make me feel bad to not invite me.
Oh.
And I was kind of so taken aback because you should never make those decisions for anybody else, first and foremost. And secondly, the reason I always would have said no isn't because I wouldn't have the money to spend that, but because I don't find going out in groups and eating at restaurants something I like spending my money on.
Yep.
I love date nights with my husband, but as far as like going out to eat with friends and doing the huge restaurant thing, that's not my idea of where I want to spend money. And so when I read that relative to the people spending around you, I was like, yes, 100%, because I know how much these food bills are. And if I was maybe not as confident and I want to just kind of keep up with the Joneses, how easy would it have been to say, oh no, like I totally want you to invite me, go and get this huge bill racked up at this restaurant that I have no business being in because of the people I'm surrounding myself with. So I just love that she touched on that.
Well, and I find it interesting too, because especially in now society, when you have social media, it's easy to see how other people are spending their money. Everyone's keeping up with the Joneses. And so they love to post the highlight reels. They love to post the flashy things like, hey, here's what Santa brought for Christmas, like all these things. And it's easy to get caught in that shame spiral of, well, I couldn't do that, or how does she have such nice things? And so you really have to take yourself out of that situation, I think, and understand that first, money isn't it's not scarce, right? Like anybody could be successful, anybody could make a lot of money, and really understanding that, because what she said in here is one person's fortune is another person's misfortune. And I think that's a lot. When you're keeping up with the Joneses, that's how you're feeling, and what you're trying to fight is like, oh my gosh, they're winning, I have to win more, because versus feeling like, oh, good for them, I'm so proud of them, I'm going to put my nose to the ground and work hard on this. And so I think that relativity point is super powerful.
My husband has a phrase that he says all the time in relative to anything he can make it relative to, and that's stay in your lane.
Love it. Well,
and
it's
so true.
I think so too. I think what's interesting, because when we were doing Dave Ramsey, one phrase that I would use like crazy is, sorry, we can't, we're broke. Like, we don't have the money for that. That was my phrase. And it got under my husband's skin so bad. Like anytime I would say we don't have the money, or we can't afford it, it would, like, I could see him physically get bent out of shape about it. And I finally asked him, I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, we do have the money, we're just choosing not to spend it. I'm like, right, I understand that, but it's okay to say that you don't have the money, no matter what's in your bank account, no matter how much money you have saved up, because it's a mindset, right? If you're wanting to be intentional with it, it's genuinely a mindset about it. So I thought that was super, super interesting with the relativity idea.
Definitely. And then something later she mentions is money spent wisely can support happiness goals of strengthening relationships, promoting health, having fun, and all the rest. At the same time, the emotions generated by sheer buying, by acquisition, are also powerful. And I think that is so true. I think that there is the need of, you can spend money where you want to, like I said, go out with your friends or have that, experience with traveling with your family. But there is definitely just, I think, like that fine line of between buying and like acquiring things that you think will buy you happiness, and then actually putting money into things like maybe like reinvesting it into your business, reinvesting it into your health, reinvesting it into your relationships. And I think if you think of the term of spending and investing, I think that those are two very different terms. And I think that it can definitely help kind of differentiate that line a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think in her little section, indulge in modest splurges, it really kind of gut checked me, because I'm not one who normally does that. But when she says, money can't, or when she challenges the phrase, money can't buy happiness, she's like, yes, it can. Because if you're spending money on your gym membership, or that vacation, or those new pair of leggings that you've saved up for, like that modest splurge that you're actually treating yourself to, it does feel good. It does feel good to work hard and reward yourself for that. And so that was interesting for me, because I'm like, I don't do that enough. I don't celebrate me, and I don't reward me. So even something small like that, that's going to feel really good. And so it's knowing the balance in that, and when you can reward yourself, and when it's just for the instant gratification. I guess more so asking yourself, like, why do I want to buy this? How is it going to bless me, sort of idea.
And another example in that section that she gives is spending more on getting professional photos taken, and how she was talking to a friend who said that looking back, she really regretted not having those professional pictures where their entire family are involved, had taken them more. And professional photos are not cheap. and to put into, I live in Minnesota, a lot of the photographers that I've worked with or that I've looked into, a lot of the packages for like a family session running about an hour are easily maybe around $200. And so they are definitely, again, that investment piece. But when you look back and you have those memories and you get to cherish those, is that something that you're going to be able to look back and not regret spending that money? And I definitely love that she expressed that, because I think that is one of those investments, like you talked about, that you can put your money in and is going to actually be worth the investment.
Absolutely. One thing that I have highlighted is she says, we're very sensitive to change. We measure our present against our past, and we're made happy when we see change for the better. And I think a lot of this isn't just in money, but I thought it was very interesting because she dove into like different studies asking like in different, like how much they made and like their levels of happiness and everything like that. And it's so relative to each individual person. And I thought that was so interesting. Let me kind of skim over this real quick. In one study, people were asked whether they'd rather have a job that paid $30,000 in year 1, $40,000 in year 2, and $50,000 in year 3, or a job that paid $60,000, then $50,000, then $40,000. In general, people preferred the first option with its raises, despite the fact that at the end of the 3 years, they would have earned only $120,000 instead of $150,000. Their decision seemed irrational, but in fact, the people who chose the first option understood the importance of growth to happiness. It's because if you're making that big amount of money to start and then you go backwards, that's not going to fill your cup. You're going to live at one standard and then you're going to go down. So it really is a progression over time. We love seeing that change for the better.
Definitely. And then kind of right after that, she had talked about one challenge of parenthood that I hadn't tackled in April was setting limits on buying treats for my children.
Oh, I love this one.
I am that person. And it probably ties back to the idea of, you know, my inner child, Hannah, would have loved this. So then I like want to overcompensate for that. And that is something in real time I have to constantly check myself of, am I actually being, and we say this all the time, but intentional with this gift giving, or am I doing it to fill something that doesn't need to be filled? And by buying your children those like little things and those extra things, you're almost teaching them the same problems that now we're trying to break ourselves out of. And it's that those little physical things bring joy. And that's not what it is.
Absolutely.
And so almost like creating problems that they have to go back and fix later. And it's unintentional because it comes in such a great place, because you're like, I have the money. I want to buy my kid this. They're going to love it. I'm going to see them open it. That's going to make me happy. But at the same time, is there a reason? Are you doing it for what is your intentions behind it? And I love that she had put that in there, because guilty sometimes.
Absolutely. And I love how she kind of tied in the fact, like, sometimes too many of a good thing is actually a bad thing, right? Because the example is one specific book that her daughter was obsessed with. But if she got her daughter 3 or 4 of the same books, she would just be bored, like, oh, well, there's another one, cool. And that was really enlightening to me, because I'm like, oh, it really is like the reminder that the small doses is all that's necessary. And really just being intentional in the time spent expressing those, or spent, for example, reading this book, that's what's really going to make the difference, not the gift itself.
Exactly.
The next chapter or little section says buy needful things. And I thought this was a really interesting, because she talked about how there's 2 different approaches to buying: underbuying and overbuying. And she said she's an underbuyer. So by underbuying, it means that you're like delaying your purchases to the last second possible, and you don't have any toilet paper and the kids are screaming because you haven't had ketchup for a week. Like, you're just behind because you don't want to spend the money, or you don't want to take time to go shopping, whatever that may be. But she really had to gut check herself. She's like, why would I stress myself out having to make a million trips to the store when I can just buy things I know we're going to use, keep a stock of that, and don't buy other useless things? Because the overbuyers often lay in huge supplies of slow use items like shampoo or cough medicine. she doesn't need tons of shampoo and cough medicine, but she does need lots of toilet paper and lots of ketchup, right? Like whatever those examples are for your house.
And toilet paper, we're not talking like 2020 quarantine toilet paper. We're talking just like a backup roll, people. Like not like excessive, like an entire closet's worth, just like the backup pack.
Yeah, and I thought that was so interesting. And she asked like a bunch of her blog listeners or readers what they were like. And I think that it's so cool seeing how each person is so individual and like whether they're an overbuyer or an underbuyer.
And I think with being an overbuyer and underbuyer, I think it also kind of deals with how you in general budget and spend money. So in my household, whether or not it is the good tactic, the wrong tactic, or otherwise, we do paycheck to paycheck. It just is what it is. That's how we do things. And so we are in the category of underbuying because we kind of just do everything on the whim where, okay, we got paid on Friday, a quick scan of inventory of what's the house, what we missed, anything like that. And then it winds up, like they said, being a lot of those, spontaneous trips to the grocery store up the road because, oh, we didn't have ketchup. Oh, we didn't actually have milk. Oh, we ran out of this. And I think that with that being, if you pay more attention to what you need to spend and where and having some of those categories, it takes out that extra spending when you're not factoring in, oh, the gas that it just took to run to the store quick, or the extra time when, you both just got home from work and you open the fridge and realize that you forgot hamburger. And I think that those things don't get factored into the budget of, oh, if I would just make sure that I had this couple extra things, the backup, not excessive backup, but the one extra of the toilet paper, the extra gallon of milk, and making sure that you're consistently keeping that little stock, it ultimately saves you money in the long run from not having to just run out. And I'm the queen of running by and seeing that little thing on sale in the end cap. Things on sale at the end caps always get me. And so you end up spending extra money on a shopping trip you didn't need to take.
Absolutely. I love that. And then a little bit later, she talks about a decision-making process for buying, where you are either, I want to see where she opened it up, being a satisfier or a maximizer. And I thought this was super, super interesting. I was also a satisfier as opposed to a maximizer. Satisfiers, yes, are those who make a decision or take action once their criteria are met. That doesn't mean they'll settle for mediocrity. Their criteria can be very high, but as soon as they find that hotel, the pasta sauce, the business card that has the quality they want, they're satisfied, and that's it. They're good. Maximizers, on the other hand, want to make the optimal decision. Even if they see a bicycle or a backpack that meets their requirements, they can't make a decision until after they examined every other option so they can make sure they're making the best possible choice. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting because I feel like I'm a maximizer in some categories, but a satisfier in others.
What's really funny when I think about that is it depends. If I'm in store, I feel like it's a satisfier. Like I just want to like grab the thing that is conveniently located there. But if I'm online shopping, I am searching all the places. And a lot of the times we do either grocery pickup or grocery delivery. And where I live, we have a lot of those options where I can get like Costco or Sam's Club or Aldi's delivered or Walmart. And sometimes it's really like going through and seeing which of those is the best option. But let's say I just want to run to the store quick, run into Walmart. I'm going to grab whatever Walmart has available. And it's not going to matter one way or the other if it was the best meat standards. It's just what Walmart has. And so it's funny to me how I read that.
I think that's interesting because I live in a small rural town. I got like one option and that's it. If I lived in a big, like with that many options, I would be a maximizer in that sense where I would make my entire cart on Walmart pickup and get the total and see what the total is. And then do it all for Sam's or Costco or whatever, all the stores to make sure I'm getting the most bang for my buck. Gosh, that would be like anxiety. Like there's an elephant on my chest just thinking about that. Huh.
Exactly. And sometimes like it's the best intentions. I'm like, wow, I wonder if this would be really cheaper to like price out at Aldi. But sometimes with just like timing and everything, it just doesn't work out. And you just really want to do whatever is convenient, whatever is there, whatever is just going to get the job done. And then kind of in her next category of spending out, she talks about how she clings to things. She uses razor blades until they're absolutely dull. She keeps toothbrushes until they're yellow and frayed. And I laugh because I am 100% that person where if it still has even the littlest bit of life, if I think that it can still have a little bit of function, or I'm also the person where I'm like, oh, we can probably fix this. We can have somebody come out and look at this, or, we can get this rewired. I am that person that's like, let's hang on to it and see if we can not get this thrown away and buy a new one.
Make it last as soon as possible. Yeah, I thought the spending out was super, super interesting. Like I love like how she splurged on certain things and, was just so efficient on others.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to breeze through here. One of the things about the spending out I thought was super interesting, because one of her blog readers had talked about how she learned the lesson the hard way. And she actually was saving something to use for a special occasion, and then someone had gotten rid of that. And her heart was broken because it was like passed down to her. And they were like, well, you haven't used it in years. I didn't realize that it was something so special. And so she says, sometimes later becomes never. So don't wait to use that special thing. If you find a situation where it's good enough, just use it, because it's going to bring you joy versus holding on to it and then never getting to use it.
Absolutely. And then in the last little section here, she says, give something up. And she said, well, sometimes something that makes you happy also makes you unhappy, like smoking cigarettes, having one more cupcake, staying up until 3 a.m., and just those things. And many people get a big kick out of buying things, but once they're home, cash register happiness changed to remorse and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that is something I think that we've kind of just like off and on talked about, how, it's that instant gratification of the buying things, like, oh, wow, this is going to finally be the thing. And I think that in general, whether or not be spending money or in your health, fitness, or anything like that, you just kind of want that quick fix. You want you want that book you read to finally be the book that solves all the problems, or that makes that light bulb go out, or you want that podcast you listen to give you that life answer, or you want that health plan to be the thing that makes you, back in your high school bikini, just those like things that just could go like that. And I love that she talks about it's going to just always end up in that remorse and guilt, because that's not how money can be used to buy actual happiness.
Yeah, I loved it. Love that. I'm glad I think this might be one of our longer podcasts. So that's kind of funny how we started saying like we didn't have anything highlighted, but the truth of it is we both walked away with some very powerful things from this chapter in itself. And so I think that's interesting.
I think almost naturally you want to just shy away from money. I think that it's just one of those like human topics where I think because everyone's money situation is so vastly different, everyone's spending is so vastly different, that I think when you talk about two different people's opinions and bringing it out to all of the listeners, it's like, ooh, all right, like do we really have this under wraps that we can take it back out and provide value? And I think that as, like you said, we started talking and really going through what she says, no matter where you are financially, there are things that you can change, whether it's changing how you do those big splurges or how you budget those little things, and really looking at how are you spending money, how are you investing money, and what does that look like for you, and is it aligned with your happiness and financial goals?
Bingo, ding, ding. You hit the nail on the head, because it's just like the Happiness Project itself. It's so incredibly unique per person. And when you can go into a conversation, no matter what conversation it is about, knowing that your view, your opinion all those things are so incredibly different and unique because they're yours. And you can give yourself that permission and the confidence that it belongs to you and no one else, and no one can put shame on it, no one can take it away. Like, that's really empowering. So I'm glad we got to sit down and talk today.
Me too.
All right,
listeners.
We'll join
you next time.
Yep, we'll see you next time.